Everything you need is already inside of you. The world would not be what it is without you. When we begin to create change within us, we begin to create change in the world around us. Your journey to becoming your best self as the whole person starts right now.
Well, welcome to the Become Your Best podcast and webinar series. I am Lauren Sweeney, Vice President of Development here at Rise Up For You. I'm excited that you are listening or watching us live on our Facebook platform. Whatever the case may be, you're in for a treat today. Today we have two guests all the way from Utah, and their names are Charlie and Maureen. And let me tell you a little bit about them, and then we'll bring them onto the show. Charlie is the managing partner of Bridge Builders Collective. It's a group of highly successful investors who have been in the investing in startup companies, which you'll hear more about on the show, in the space of mental health, consciousness, and spirituality, which we love so much. Some of their investments have included the Insight Timer, which we were just talking about, Headspace. I love their stuff on LinkedIn, and the Happify Health. Ooh, can't wait to hear about that. He's a Harvard Business School graduate, and Charlie has served and led organizations in 14 different industries, which is absolutely amazing. We're excited. Maureen is also a teacher on the Insight Timer app, which I know we're going to love to hear more about. Let's bring them onto our show, find out a little bit about them, and dive right in. Charlie and Maureen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, hi, Lauren. Good to be here.
Great to be here. So tell us a little bit about your journey. Here you are today, and we'll dive back into that and mindfulness and all the things, but how did you get here?
So I'm a social scientist, and I have spent the last 37 years passionate about human flourishing and human systems. And I started doing yoga and meditation and started to bring that into my work. This was 37 years ago. So I was in the corporate world, and I was working in the medical world, and I worked in university level. And so I was kind of on the front of the wave. I got involved in the Mind and Life Institute with His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Richie Davidson at the University of Wisconsin, where I went to school. And then I brought my husband into the fold, I don't know, 15 years ago.
Correct. Yeah, so that's my journey into this space was really Maureen's invitation. I had my own sort of personal experience of transformation and awakening to my authentic self. And Maureen was involved in the Mind and Life Institute and got me involved. And that's where I met the investors that I've spent the last 10 years working with at the Bridge Builders Collaborative. So that's a little bit about my journey.
Wow. So did she suggest that you come into the space, or was it more of a nudge?
Well, when I call Maureen the wisdom of our family, and when I'm smart, I listen to the wisdom. I love it. I'm more of sort of Maureen's sort of the multidimensional being, and if I'm just listening to her, then I'm pretty good at bringing things into third dimensional reality and into how distribution systems work. And so, actually, when she brought this up, she's a scientist in the family. I'm not really into science. I was a very poor science student. And she had just come back from Washington, D.C., where she'd been at this event with this Dalai Lama and educators. And she came back and started talking about the science of mindfulness and education. I was kind of like, yeah, the science doesn't really interest me, but sounds cool. They were having an event in Switzerland, which was on business. And our friend Bill George was speaking at that. He's a friend of ours from Minneapolis. And I decided to go to that event. And that was like, I love business, so that's the event that I went to that got me then involved in that community.
And he could see the connection with mindfulness, and he got on board with me, which is like, okay, we have the science. How do we bring this to the masses? And that's where the Bridge Builders Collaborative began.
Wow, I love it. Absolutely fantastic. How have you seen a shift, especially in the last year and a half, with us going through the pandemic and everything. Have you seen a shift where people are craving it more and you wanting to incorporate it?
Well, I want to just start by saying the big shift I saw is that we really, enough people have been meditating since this started 9 years ago. The big shift I saw was that they started to realize mental health is something that is important, and that there are tools, mindfulness and meditation being one of them, that we really needed to start addressing. And that we've just been really busy since the pandemic started. But you can say more.
Yeah, so just leading up to the pandemic, when we got into this field and started supporting companies, we were a little bit on the leading edge, and I'd go into companies and talk about this, and they kind of thought I was crazy, but there was some science behind it, so they listened. 7 or 8 years later, most Fortune 500 companies have a mental health or a mindfulness program. These apps that we've invested in have gone to scale, and so insurance companies are including them. Healthcare is including them. So that was all happening. But once COVID happened, we saw pretty much across the board a 25 to 30% uptick, and a lot more companies were interested in going deeper into bringing these programs into their audience. And so it's just like instantaneous. When we had the lockdown, people were at home, they needed tools and resources. They were, either feeling lonely, they were feeling, feeling anxious with the pandemic, et cetera. And so they needed tools. And fortunately, their companies or their neighbors, or even their churches or synagogues, they were talking about mindfulness. It was, and mental health. So it was all set up, and then the event happened. I think it got people to use the tools and resources more.
I love it. Talk to me about the shift, how you help people kind of move, and some tangible tools, because here we are in August, the beginning of August 2021, very much still in a global pandemic. And even before the global pandemic, as you said, we needed these tools. I certainly was meditating before the pandemic and helped me in the transition for sure. But now we're more mindful that we need them. And a lot of people have been so isolated. So what would be some good steps? Let's say someone has never really used many mindfulness tools. Where would you suggest they start?
Well, I think Insight Timer is a great place to start, because they have so many teachers and so many modalities, and there's so many free guided meditations or practices. But where I really encourage people to start is with breath. Just becoming conscious breathers. There are so many breath techniques out there. There's Andrew Weil's breath for anxiety that really helps people sleep. There's just all kinds of breath work. And I find people in my years of experience that just cannot meditate, and there's nothing wrong with them. They just need something else, like breath work or sound meditations by Neuro. So I would start simple with breath. And like I said, Insight Timer offers a lot of free meditations and practices and music. I mean, binaural music, or there's a lot of, even on Spotify, I can't get over how many healing sound playlists are available. So I think that's a great place to start.
Absolutely. I love, there's a peaceful meditation one on Spotify I'll listen to, or I love even a good dance party to shake it up. I have little kids, and sometimes it might not be a calming meditation, but we just need to change the energy. And so using music, using breath work, I love that. Tell me some more ideas or things that you help people see, because you have several different apps that you invested in and use. And then Maureen, of course, you're a teacher on Insight. Talk to me about some of your other favorite shifts that you've seen.
Well, I think Happify Health, which Charlie can talk about more, but the other one, I think and these are all companies we are investors in, but for full disclosure, but the Muse headband is also a great tool, because it not only gives you feedback about your flow state, but also your heart rate variability and any movement and breath. So you start to really, I'm all about embodiment. So you start to really check in with your body. mean, anything, my meditations on Insight Timer are free and they're all about embodiment. Anytime you can get into your body, into your inner world, into the sensations and the experiences, it shifts things, because otherwise we're in our head, our ego, our programming, our triggers, our stories. So just moving from the head to the heart, the head to the body, I think are really important. And there's lots of tools out there for that.
Yeah, I also just want to mention what, my favorite mindfulness app, which we've not invested in, which is called Mother Nature. Just being outside and like connected to the earth is is such a source of inspiration and creativity for me. And so, it's free, it's available. And I just think it's, just being outside is fantastic. But I guess what I want to say is there are lots of different tools. Maureen was mentioning some, I could mention others, but really the attitude with which you do it. Like if you're starting, a meditation practice, just expect your thoughts are going to be rampant. There's no such thing as doing this right. There are techniques that you can perfect, but there's no right way to meditate. And there's no one, I believe, that I've ever heard of that didn't start out and have wandering thoughts. And 20 years into my mindfulness practice, I still have a lot of wandering thoughts. So it's not like, it's not like something you have to be good at in order to do. But to Maureen's point earlier, just one other thing, there's not one size fits all either. There, for some people, the muse really works. I'd say for 30% of people who really want to be involved with technology and get the biofeedback. For other people, that doesn't work at all. They find it a distraction. For some people, Insight Timer is great. For some people, Headspace is great. For some, nature is great. Happify Health, is another tool that, sort of helps gamify the science of mindfulness and the science behind cognitive behavioral therapy and positive psychology. And, just a few minutes a day, 8 to 10 minutes a day, can help you to change the state that you're in. So,
I love that.
Yeah.
Tell me the name of the headband again that you were mentioning, Maureen.
The Muse.
The Muse.
Mm-hmm. The Muse.
The Muse. And then Happify Health. I love a good gamification app. So we're all about that. We have a motivation and positive habit tracker that we use that we've developed as well in our community. So Happy. Tell me the name of that one again.
Happify Health.
Happify Health. That one sounds fascinating. What are some of your favorite things inside of that app?
Well, I think what I like about it is there are like 50 or 60 plus different themes where you can find the theme that suits you. It's not a customized. It is a customized journey that fits your state. What I like about it is that it's accessible. It's been proven, it's been proven to work to help improve people's state of depression or anxiety. And sleep within 8 to 10 minutes a day, and programmed so it's not trying to get you to use it more. It is programmed actually sort of like a drug. I mean, it is going through the FDA because it's programmed to deliver results in a short amount of time, and then it's not about how much time can you spend on the platform. So I like that. And I like that there's community involvement. They now have sort of communities of healing or, conditions where people who have a similar condition can learn from, exchange ideas from one another. I like that there's an AI companion that's sort of like a therapist that works for some people. I like that, many Fortune 500 companies are using it. And, it's like Google's global behavioral health solution, and insurance companies are using it, and drug companies are finding that it's actually improving outcomes and helping to get people better. So there's many different things that to like about that app.
And I also want to add, if you like gamified, True Love is one of our newer investments. That is a startup, and right now their app is #selfcare, but they're moving from the old gaming system of fight and flight into a much more tend and befriend and oxytocin approach to gaming. And it's more, I would say, feminine based, because
Sure.
we're intended befriending, they're not necessarily freezing or running. So this I'm really excited about. I don't know where it's going to go, but it's pretty exciting.
I love it. There's so many tools out there. So if you're listening or you're watching us live and you're feeling anxious or all of the different things, it's so normal. And we talk a lot in our community about emotional intelligence, self-awareness, triggers. This morning, I had a meeting. I got a little bit triggered. And then I thought, okay, you have tools for this. So let's go meditate. Let's go move. I have a Peloton downstairs. Let's go, move the energy. And so I love that it's becoming a lot more normal. I will see on LinkedIn, some Headspace posts and things about rest, and that especially, both of you and myself are in the United States, and we have a lot of international listeners as well. But really, Western society has this huge push to our identity is our titles and our job, and let's just work harder. And yet we know, and we've seen so much during the pandemic, let's bring it back. Let's take pause. That, being a workaholic doesn't need to be a badge of honor. And I've certainly had to work on that myself, that rest is good, and taking these steps so that we can be more mindful. And I can notice, I'm getting triggered in this instance, or I have little children. And so perhaps, before bedtime, they might be ramping up, and let's see what we can do so that we can incorporate a lot of this mindfulness. It's really great. Now you have a website called Shift IT. Tell me what our listeners and viewers can find there.
Well, it just more information about us and our mission and vision. And we've got podcasts on there, and the practice, it takes you to the insight timer practices, and there's videos and how to connect with us, and a link to the Bridge Builders Collaborative that we're involved in. And I just want to add, I think it's really important what you were just saying. One of the big things I've noticed as a blessing from COVID is people are really starting to consider their motivations. Like, right? Like, why am I doing this? And who am I serving, and what am I doing? And am I, achieving all this? And really, where is that getting me? And I see a big shift happening. I'm sure you do too, that people are really starting to go deeper, right? Go into their internal world and think, why am I pursuing this or doing this or working so hard, or whatever the questions may be? And that is a big shift we're seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking that time to take a step back. A lot of our clients, we work with them on their identity and their confidence and their leadership. And it does start with that self-awareness and just going back, like you said, Maureen, go back to the breath work, go back to nature. I love, Charlie, that it's a free resource that we have, that we can walk outside. I love that grounding technique of taking off our shoes and going on the grass and letting my kids play in the dirt and getting back into kind of just feeling grounded again. And if you're listening, I did have a link up, but let me read it to you so that you can see it as well. The bbcollaborative.com if you do want to find out more about investing in the mindfulness space. I love that. Also, they're both Charlie and Maureen are on LinkedIn. This is Charlie's LinkedIn as well. Charlie Hartwell, and then it's Maureen Pelton. I almost thought it was Peloton. I know. I am not an investor in Peloton, but I do like it. I like the gamification. So Maureen Pelton, absolutely. Well, what we love to ask, and you can both answer differently. When you hear the name of our company, Rise Up For You, what does that mean to each of you?
Well, I almost see it as two different things. Like the Rise Up, like I see that as both a collective and an individual. And then for you, as I hear that, it's like, okay, it's an invitation for you to rise up to be your best self, your most authentic self. So that's what comes up for me. I've
been at this for so long that I'm Rise Up I'm kind of living in Rise Up for everyone, Rise Up for sacred activism. I don't like live in that Rise Up for you space anymore, but I do remember being there.
For yourself as an individual.
Yeah. You're at that when you get to, it just happens when you're at this so long. I'm always doing my work. I mean, it's never like I'm never going to have any personal work to do, but I've done so much that I'm just at this place and have been for a number of years where, you know, instead of managing the unacceptable with all these tools, we need to change the unacceptable. We need to change the system. That's pretty much where I spend my time.
I love it. Nice. Well, Charlie and Maureen, so great to have you on today. And we love the tools, the places you're investing, the mindfulness you brought, the switch that's so needed now. And really, though, was needed before. It's just shine a light, you know, with the pandemic. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Lauren.
Absolutely. So great to think of all these different tools that exist. And if you're listening or you're watching, pick something that resonates with you. And if you haven't really started any type of mindfulness practice, start somewhere. Like Maureen said, the breath work, or, you know, like Charlie said, go outside, take a walk. Just pay attention and notice. And of course, if you need extra support, check out their links. And we at Rise Up For You are here for you. You can check out our free resources on our website, riseupforyou.com. You can even text us and schedule an absolutely free strategy call where we can help you as well. You can text the word connect to 949-416-0671. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Lauren Sweeney, your host of the Become Your Best podcast and webinar series. We will see you soon.